Consider this for a moment. We inhabit the most interconnected period in human existence, with billions of data fragments exchanged every second. Yet, genuine insight appears more elusive than ever. How is it that superficial trends propagate rapidly, while profound truths are disregarded, dismissed, or mocked? Why does ignorance spread rampantly, while wisdom struggles to gain an audience? In this discussion, we will deeply delve into the core of this paradox. We'll examine why wisdom doesn't achieve widespread popularity, why a lack of knowledge often dominates the world, and, most crucially, how you can transcend this prevailing current, becoming one of the rare individuals who perceive clearly amidst the blinding clamor. Remain engaged until the conclusion, as the ultimate revelation will unveil something powerful: the hidden psychological mechanism that has ensnared humanity in a cycle of superficiality for centuries. Before we proceed, ensure you subscribe to this channel, give a thumbs up, and share this content with those who still prioritize depth over distraction. Your participation helps us disseminate ideas that genuinely matter, concepts that inspire, awaken, and challenge the ordinary. Because what you are about to discover today might fundamentally alter your perception of the world and your role within it. Reflect on this. We live in an epoch where entertainment is celebrated and contemplation is overlooked, where algorithms magnify outrage but mute serious thought. The louder something is, the quicker it circulates. But wisdom is a whisper. It demands tranquility, patience, and exertion, the very three elements modern society most fears. Philosophers such as Soren Kierkegaard anticipated this long before social media even existed. He posited that the crowd is untruth, signifying that collective thought often stifles individuality and clear understanding. In his time, it was the newspapers. Today, it's the ceaseless stream of viral content, an overwhelming tide of noise where true meaning dissolves. Ignorance spreads effortlessly because it provides mental comfort. It doesn't challenge anyone. It offers immediate affirmation rather than deep-seated transformation. It tells people what they desire to hear, not what they need to confront. As the psychologist Daniel Kahneman elucidated, our brains are hardwired to opt for the path of least resistance. We crave cognitive ease, straightforward answers, unambiguous villains, and emotional certainty. Wisdom, conversely, demands discomfort. It compels you to question your deeply held convictions, to embrace uncertainty, and to engage in slow, profound thought. However, here lies the irony. Though most individuals claim to seek truth, they are actually seeking reassurance. The collective consciousness shies away from wisdom because wisdom exposes deceptions. And in a world predicated on incessant diversion, illusions are lucrative. Every viral post, every trending video, every rapid emotional response is crafted to keep people captivated but unawakened. Now ask yourself, when was the last occasion you genuinely sat in silence and reflected on something profound, without reaching for your device, without checking the next notification, without allowing the world's tumult to divert you from your own thoughts? That moment of stillness is where wisdom resides. But society is structured to ensure you rarely encounter it. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once remarked, "There are no facts, only interpretations." In the era of social media, that statement has become frighteningly accurate. People no longer pursue what is factual. They pursue what feels factual, what aligns with their community, their emotions, their ideology. And when perception eclipses truth in value, ignorance becomes the new currency of influence. The contemporary world celebrates rapidity, not profundity. It rewards opinion, not true understanding. The more immediate and emotionally charged something is, the more attention it garners. And attention, in our age, translates to profit. This is precisely why wisdom does not become viral. It doesn't generate sales. It doesn't promise fleeting pleasure. It promises growth. It doesn't merely entertain. It awakens. Consider Plato's allegory of the cave. In that narrative, captives mistake shadows on a wall for reality. When one escapes and perceives the actual truth, he attempts to return to liberate the others, but they mock and even resent him. That ancient parable perfectly mirrors our digital age. The individual who pursues wisdom is often perceived as peculiar, irrelevant, or dull. The one who propagates noise becomes an influencer. Yet, every era has its enlightened spirits, those who refuse to be mesmerized by the collective. The ones who still read, question, observe, and feel. The ones who elect to think rather than react. You, watching this, might be one of them. Because deep down, you recognize that the world is inundated with information, but starved for significance. You sense that something crucial is being lost in this scramble for attention. You feel that humanity's most pressing crisis isn't political, economic, or technological. It is spiritual. It is the crisis of wisdom being lost, buried beneath an avalanche of noise. What accounts for this phenomenon? Why does a lack of knowledge so easily prevail in the world? Why does profound understanding remain confined to whispers, while ignorance shouts from the rooftops? The answer lies in three potent influences: psychological, social, and spiritual, that dictate the fate of ideas in our contemporary society. In the next segment, we will explore the initial force, the concealed psychological mechanism that leads your brain to favor ignorance over insight, often without your conscious awareness. To grasp why misinformation spreads so effortlessly, we must first delve into our own minds, into the fundamental structure of human thought. The primary and most powerful reason wisdom struggles to proliferate isn't technological, it's psychological. The brain functions as a survival mechanism, not primarily a tool for seeking truth. Its main objective is not deep world comprehension, but ensuring your safety, conserving energy, and maintaining consistency in your perception of reality. From an evolutionary standpoint, your mind developed to prioritize speed over accuracy. Encountering a shadow in the dark, your brain would rather mistakenly identify it as a predator than pause for analysis and risk fatal consequences. This primal instinct, once advantageous on the savannah, now hinders the spread of wisdom in the digital age. Today, the predators are not wild animals, but ideas. Every piece of news, every social media post, every video battles for your attention by exploiting fear, anger, or pleasure to activate your most primitive drives. The algorithms governing your online feeds are anything but neutral. They are meticulously crafted to amplify emotional responses, not intellectual deliberation. Consequently, content that triggers rage or excitement spreads instantly, while anything demanding deep thought languishes in obscurity. Psychologist Jonathan Haidt posits that our reasoning often functions like a public relations manager. It doesn't uncover truth, but rather defends our existing convictions. We don't employ reason to discover reality. We use it to rationalize what we already believe. This is why a piece of misinformation that validates someone's worldview will invariably travel faster than a complex, nuanced truth. Ignorance validates. Wisdom challenges. Daniel Kahneman divides our thought processes into two systems: the rapid, intuitive System 1 and the deliberate, analytical System 2. Social media and contemporary news cycles predominantly exploit System 1. Quick impressions, bold declarations, and emotionally charged imagery are processed instantly and shared impulsively. However, wisdom resides in System 2, the reflective mind that pauses, questions, and considers alternatives. In a culture driven by instant gratification, slowness can be perceived as weakness. Thus, the very architecture of the human mind creates fertile ground for ignorance. Wisdom, by its very nature, demands effort. It requires patience, humility, and occasionally even suffering. As Carl Jung noted, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Ignorance offers pleasure without consequence. Wisdom offers enlightenment through struggle. Given this choice, which do you believe most people will choose? The peril is that this psychological bias extends beyond individuals, shaping entire societies. When billions of minds prefer convenience over truth, the outcome is collective delusion. Whole populations settle into echo chambers where comfort supplants clarity and certainty replaces curiosity. In such an environment, the wise are not celebrated, but silenced. Consider a contemporary example. When someone articulates an unpopular truth online, a truth that contradicts a prevailing narrative, they are frequently ignored, attacked, or mocked. Conversely, an individual who speaks in absolutes, simplifying complex realities into slogans or extreme emotional appeals, often gains millions of followers overnight. It isn't that the world despises truth, it's that the human psyche fears it. To illustrate, ignorance spreads virally because it feels good. It provides people with a sense of belonging, identity, certainty, and emotional satisfaction. Wisdom, however, often isolates. It distinguishes you from the crowd, compelling you to perceive what others cannot or will not. It strips away comforting illusions, and this can be a solitary experience. Yet, that very solitude is the genesis of profound insight. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once observed that truth progresses through 3 stages. First, it is scoffed at. Second, it is vehemently opposed. And third, it is accepted as obvious. This progression holds true even today. The challenge in this age of incessant noise is that many truths never advance beyond the initial stage. They perish amidst ridicule before they can even be comprehended. So, if the human mind naturally resists wisdom, what can be done? How can anyone escape this psychological trap? The initial step is awareness, to recognize that your instincts are not always reliable allies. To acknowledge that your emotional responses to information might be intentionally manipulated. To pause and ask yourself, why do I feel so strongly about this? Who benefits from this reaction? This active process of conscious inquiry is the very seed of wisdom. This signifies the juncture where an individual transitions from being a passive recipient of concepts to an active participant in their personal growth. However, this is merely the initial stage, as a deeper enigma unfolds, transcending individual cognition and permeating society's collective consciousness. It's not solely individual intellect that resists enlightenment. The fundamental structure itself, the unseen frameworks of media, commerce, and governance, benefits from a lack of knowledge. In the subsequent section, we will delve into how contemporary systems are engineered to obscure wisdom and make ignorance profitable. We will unveil why veracity poses a threat to authority and why those who benefit most from the current global order actively ensure the populace remains uninformed, entertained, and divided. What if the world isn't designed to illuminate you, but to divert you? If incomprehension spreads due to the inherent functioning of the human brain, what occurs when potent systems learn to exploit this predisposition? The answer lies in the second major force driving the dominance of ignorance, the societal and structural blueprint of our modern existence. We inhabit a civilization that ostensibly values truth, yet rewards deception. Every prominent institution, media, politics, entertainment, even education, has grasped one crucial insight. Command over attention equates to control. He who commands attention dictates reality. And attention thrives on sentiment, not comprehension. Consider it. News rarely promotes calm, balanced contemplation. Instead, it cultivates shock, division, and apprehension. The algorithms guiding social platforms don't inquire, "Is this factual?" They ask, "Will this sustain engagement?" This singular query defines the psychological landscape of our era, because each moment of your engagement translates into monetary value, and the more emotionally invested you are, the greater your profitability. As Noam Chomsky once observed, the astute method for maintaining a passive and compliant populace is to stringently define the parameters of acceptable discourse while permitting vigorous debate within those confines. This is how the illusion of liberty is sustained. One can endlessly dispute superficial matters, but never challenge the underlying mechanisms governing the system itself. Ignorance becomes not merely pervasive, but institutionalized. Yet, the system doesn't compel people into ignorance. It entices them. It provides solace, diversion, and dopamine. It transmutes their fears into spectacle, their insecurities into commodities, and their solitude into interaction. The outcome is a populace too distracted to reason, too amused to become aware, and too fragmented to unite. This phenomenon is not novel. The Roman Empire offered its bread and circuses, sustenance and entertainment, to keep its citizens pliable. Today, we have fast food for the physical body and viral content for the mind. Both satiate hunger without providing true nourishment. Both foster dependence while convincing you of your freedom. But a deeper, more sinister reality underpins it all. The system doesn't just profit from ignorance, it is reliant upon it. This is because wisdom, by its very essence, poses a danger to authority. A discerning individual cannot be easily manipulated. A wise person questions, doubts, and seeks understanding beyond superficialities. A sagacious populace is difficult to control. Consequently, the world subtly discourages profound contemplation. It champions conformity, masked as innovation, clamor, masquerading as significance, and diversion disguised as connection. The philosopher Herbert Marcuse termed this repressive tolerance. The system tolerates everything except that which imperils its dominion. It permits vocalization, but only within boundaries that preserve its authority. Ask yourself, why do profound concepts rarely gain widespread traction? Why do philosophers, scientists, and thinkers with revolutionary insights struggle to reach extensive audiences, while superficial influencers command every platform? This isn't merely happenstance, it is by design. Our collective attention has been weaponized. The more splintered it becomes, the simpler it is to govern populations through emotion rather than rationality. Ignorance, in this regard, transforms into a political instrument, a means to maintain societal predictability. Historian Yuval Noah Harari cautioned that in the information age, the most potent entities are those that comprehend human vulnerabilities better than we comprehend ourselves. They can anticipate your anxieties, sculpt your desires, and feed you illusions perfectly crafted to your psychological makeup. Yet, perhaps the most perilous aspect of this system is its capacity to make you cherish your own confinement. Individuals defend the very mechanisms that exploit them. They ridicule profundity. They dread quietude. They label wisdom as elitism and ignorance as authenticity. This reversal of values, where truth becomes arrogance and falsehood becomes virtue, is the hallmark of a society that has lost its moral bearings. And yet, despite all this, wisdom endures. It resides in the unspoken realms, books seldom read, conversations held discreetly, solitary moments of introspection. It persists in art, philosophy, and acts of bravery that defy the collective delusion. Insight doesn't perish. It simply retreats, awaiting those prepared to receive it. One might then ponder, if the prevailing system is designed to stifle profound understanding, what actions can individuals undertake? How can a single person effectively resist an entire framework of manipulation? The journey commences with conscious awareness, yet it extends far beyond that. It necessitates something far more exceptional: inner autonomy. Reclaiming one's intellectual domain equates to recovering personal authority. This implies no longer permitting algorithms to dictate one's intellectual pursuits and embracing quietude as a form of defiance. It means scrutinizing not only the information conveyed, but also the underlying motivations behind its dissemination. This encapsulates the essence of mental emancipation and begins the moment one transitions from mere reaction to deliberate observation. Once the underlying mechanisms are understood, one ceases to be controlled by them, becoming an observer rather than a mere participant. From this vantage point of clarity, it becomes evident that the potency of wisdom isn't predicated on widespread popularity, but on inherent depth. Even if only a limited number grasp its significance, it suffices to redirect the world's course. Nevertheless, an ultimate, more profound layer resides in this enigma: a spiritual dimension. Beyond psychological theories and established systems exists an eternal element: the human spirit. In the subsequent and concluding segment, we will explore the spiritual rationale behind wisdom's hidden nature and why pervasive ignorance will persist until individuals ignite their inner luminescence. There exists a reason wisdom communicates subtly rather than overtly. Comprehending this reason reveals that the quietude of truth is not a deficiency, but potent strength in its purest manifestation. Throughout history, civilizations have emerged and collapsed. Technologies have advanced, and ideologies have transformed. Yet one constant remains: the scarcity of profound insight. It has consistently been the gentle murmur beneath the clamor of unawareness, a guiding light amidst turmoil. As we now delve into the spiritual aspect of this mystery, we begin to comprehend its origins. The reason wisdom doesn't achieve widespread diffusion isn't merely psychological or systemic. It's metaphysical. Wisdom occupies a distinct level of awareness. It cannot be passively acquired. It must be earned. It cannot be bestowed. It must be discovered internally. This is precisely why it resists rapid dissemination. Wisdom demands personal transformation, not mere acquiescence. It necessitates the dissolution of the ego, a renewed perspective, and the courage to confront one's intrinsic shortcomings. Conversely, ignorance flourishes within the ego. It thrives on identity, self-importance, and emotional certainty. It reassures individuals, asserting, "You already possess the knowledge. You are correct. You align with the righteous side." It inflates the self. However, wisdom promotes humility. Wisdom softly imparts, "You do not possess complete understanding. You are a component of an immense, enigmatic, and sacred reality." This subtle declaration is intimidating to those whose self-identity is still intrinsically linked to their beliefs. The mystic Osho once articulated, "Truth is not an external entity to be found. It is an internal state to be realized." Such a realization requires seclusion, tranquility, and authenticity, attributes that our contemporary society often discourages. Society frequently commends commotion, ostentation, and rivalry. Yet, profound awakening blossoms in stillness. Consequently, wisdom does not achieve viral status. It cannot endure within the collective cacophony of ego. It can only be cultivated through the serene awakening of individual souls. Every spiritual tradition corroborates this. Buddha relinquished his kingdom to meditate under a tree in silence. Jesus retreated to the wilderness before commencing his ministry. Lao Tzu withdrew from society to compose the Tao Te Ching, a text whose wisdom continues to resonate through millennia. History's significant awakenings did not originate in public gatherings. They began in solitary contemplation. Therefore, perhaps the genuine inquiry was never why wisdom fails to become widely popular, but rather why we anticipate it to be. Widely popular phenomena are typically transient, boisterous, and superficial. Wisdom is deliberate, tranquil, and timeless. Its purpose is not entertainment, but enlightenment. It doesn't seek adherence, it seeks personal change. It doesn't pursue algorithmic trends, it navigates through consciousness itself. Ignorance governs the world because the world functions as a pedagogical environment, and ignorance serves as the curriculum. Each soul incarnates here to learn through delusion, through trial and error, through suffering and contrast. The prevalence of ignorance does not signify a human failing. It is an intrinsic element of human development. For how could we appreciate veracity if we had never been misled? How could we pursue knowledge if we had never experienced the emptiness of commotion? The spiritual rationale for wisdom not being widely popular is that awakening is not a collective occurrence. It is an individual journey. The illumination of understanding propagates from spirit to spirit, not through algorithms. It spreads via resonance, not repetition. One cannot compel another to awaken. One can only embody enlightenment until others are drawn to it. This encapsulates the profound impact of wisdom. It transforms through living example, not through coercion. And this reveals the most crucial insight. Ignorance holds sway over the world only until a sufficient number of individuals reclaim their inherent self-governance. When an individual achieves internal awareness, they cease to sustain the mechanisms of illusion. Their focus once more becomes profound. Their expressions, their sounds, their stillness, their very being, transform into tools for transformation. Picture a world where a small fraction of individuals opted for mindfulness instead of impulsivity, for profound understanding over superficial diversions, for affection over apprehension. Established structures would collapse. Deceptive tactics would prove ineffective. The world wouldn't require forceful overthrows. Rather, it would undergo a silent advancement, as each awakened mind serves as a guiding light, and a single illumination can brighten countless others. However, bear this in mind. Genuine insight will never become a widespread sensation. It won't inundate your digital feeds. It resides within literary works, artistic creations, isolated moments, and in the manner you witness a sunset without reaching for your device. It exists in the act of truly listening, in the bravery to question, in the modesty to admit, "I am unsure." Such humility marks the genesis of all intellectual growth. The philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti famously stated, "Being well adapted to a deeply unhealthy society is no indicator of mental well-being." While the world applauds adherence to absurdity, wisdom beckons you to distinguish yourself, not through arrogance, but through lucidity, to observe without prejudice, to act without animosity, to cherish unconditionally. This embodies the essence of genuine intellect. And perhaps this explains why, ultimately, wisdom doesn't require widespread dissemination, as it seeks no external approval. Its strength doesn't emanate from popular acclaim, but from inherent truth. While unawareness dominates the superficial aspects of the globe, wisdom governs its profound core. The turbulent, shallow waters might roar vehemently, but the ocean's tranquility encompasses timelessness. So, upon concluding this contemplation, consider, are you pursuing clamor or nurturing profundity? Are you merely absorbing data or converting it into comprehension? Are you existing through knee-jerk responses or through conscious awareness? The world might be swayed by unawareness, yet it is reshaped by the courageous few who dare to perceive. And if you are among them, then you already grasp that wisdom doesn't need to go viral. It merely needs to ignite one intellect at a time. For when a single flame is kindled, obscurity diminishes its hold slightly, and that is the true path to global transformation. Thank you for your consideration.